Game of Thrones, Season 8, Episode 3. Was it a disappointment? And I know my answer, but there's three of us here. And that's what makes it interesting, because one of us likes the episode a lot, right, OC?
Yep.
And you thought it was super hype. You love this episode.
Yeah.
Me, I'm on the complete opposite of that. I'm on the opposite of that spectrum. Like, if there's a spectrum, Chuku, you're around maybe the middle, closer to me.
Yeah.
I'm like at the far end of like, I'm super disappointed. And then OC is just like, he loved this episode. So it's going to be an interesting discussion, for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and just give my biggest problem
I think
with this episode.
I'm just gonna have to like hear the reasoning for why anybody would not be satisfied with what we just saw. But okay, let's see what you have to say.
Yeah. Okay, so there's actually two things, but I know one is a bit nitpicky. I'll go ahead and mention that one first. That one is battle tactics, like the way they presented the battle and the things that they did, like just the characters in general and like their battle plan. It was just so ridiculously stupid to me that it really took me out of the battle. I will go into depth later, but another thing that I would say is not nitpicky at all, and it should have been addressed like way better, is the realism in this episode. There is no way that Grey Worm shouldn't have died. There's no way that Brienne shouldn't have died. No way that Jaime shouldn't have died. No way in hell that Sam should have lived. Like, he 100% should be dead. Like, the realism just took me out of it. It was just like so unrealistic how they survived. That I was just like, what the hell is going on? Like, this is kind of dumb. Like,
I agree. I definitely agree with the realism. I think for me, a big major part, and I don't know, it's because I watched it pirate, but the lighting was just really bad for me. Like, I literally could not see anything.
I have HBO Go, and it's not. It's still pretty like difficult to see stuff.
Okay, I was just making sure because I was just like, what the like? I was just kind of confused. A lot of stuff.
Yeah,
and then I guess for me, especially with realism, Arya at the end, I definitely will give you a lot for realism because, I mean, not exactly her. I won't say exactly. I'm not really upset about the way she defeated him, but the way it just came out just was like the most random. Like, when I don't think of Deus Ex Machina when I look at Games of Thrones, but this was the biggest Deus Ex Machina I ever seen this show ever pulled. And that really drew me away from this episode. Like, that was the biggest, like...
Yeah, okay, so since we're talking about Arya, we might as well address it now.
Okay.
I really don't mind that it's Arya. I really don't.
Okay, let me come in because anybody who knows me...
I know you.
Anybody who knows me knows that Arya has been my favorite character in this entire show, literally since season 1, episode 3. Season 1, episode 3, she has been my favorite character ever since she was doing her dancing lessons with Serial Pharrell, and she was like, I don't like this is who I am. I'm Arya Stark. This character has been preparing for this moment since the very beginning. Every training that she's done, she's literally probably one of the best killers in all of Westeros. And so the idea that she is a Deus Ex Machina is completely, like, I'm completely against that idea because they've literally been preparing this character for this moment since the very beginning. And there's no other character, in my opinion, that could have pulled something like this off.
Okay. My problem is not her defeating him. Like, that's not the issue. It's the way that she just came, literally she was trapped in some, I don't know. She was trapped in, like, they were in some room, and I don't know how close that room is next to where the Night King was with,
It was basically their backyard. Like, it's still in the compound of
it's still castle.
I don't know how close it is. I never really saw how close it is.
Go ahead and assume that it's relatively close, that she can get there in time.
Yeah.
Like, just assume that.
Okay.
Even if you assume that, like the Night King and Bran were surrounded by the dead,
Exactly.
and surrounded by White Walkers. Like
White Walkers.
there was like what 12 of them, maybe like 10. I don't know, but there's a good amount of
and
them.
she got
There was
past
a lot.
all of them. She got past all of them.
Yeah, like
Even like
So
I'm
at
just
first,
remembering.
so, like,
I'm
first
just
I was
like
gonna give it
I'm
because
just
I had to
remembering
rewatch that scene
the
again.
beginning.
Like, I'll be honest
I'm just
with you,
remembering
when I
the
first saw that
beginning of the
scene-
show when Siriel's like, you need to be like as silent as a cat, and like, oh my god, this episode, Arya sneaking around in the library just showed you how much she's grown, and so I completely buy that she was able to get past all of those the White Walkers. I
White Walkers.
completely buy it.
I honestly don't. I'm sorry. I need some little like. Yeah, she can get like. I can get okay. I can get if there was like 15, maybe she get by. But I'm pretty sure there was like armies. Not to mention the reason why I also didn't believe it was because now have it if it was like this where when the main Night Walker came in, have it where everyone just stopped fighting. Then I would at least believe it because maybe he was just controlling to stop fighting. But because there was all other battles and all those other Night Walkers fighting other people, I just find it hard to believe
whites.
that basically she just can just walk through all of them, no fight whatsoever. We don't see that, or none of them even at least turn around and be like, "Oh, someone's fighting us. Let's go bang her." And then she just comes in, does her little thing, stabs the person, and then bam, which was cool. Don't get it twisted. I think it's a cool scene. I think it's a cool shot.
Yeah. I think another interesting thing is that we don't even see where she comes from. And like because like she could have like been on the rooftops as far as we know. We see her on the roof several times in the episode.
No, but there's a small scene where one of the White Walkers glances to, like behind him, just like mostly his eyes.
Yeah.
And then like
with the hair moving,
a brush of wind, just like comes. So obviously she was just booking it. She was like running real fast or something to the point where they literally could not react or like grab her or anything.
So she's just that fast that they just can't.
But that's the issue. They never set up any precedence for her being that insanely fast. Like,
I
don't
think that
she
ran. I think she like was on the roof and literally jumped. Because like that scene, she looks like she's like in the air, suspended, and he kind of catches her like suspended in the air. I think she jumped off of something.
Yeah, but it was an open area. Like
exactly.
We saw from when Theon was fighting the Whites that there's like no roof that's close to the tree. So she must have jumped like, I don't know, 10 feet or something. Because that's, I don't know, dude. There's no precedence for her jumping that far
agree.
either.
That's what I agree with Scott. There's no precedence. I mean, unless they explain afterwards that that one witch lady helped her with her knife or something, where it's like she had some magic come to help her. It just came out of nowhere.
Nah,
I'm just like,
Arya doesn't need magic. She doesn't need magic.
Okay. We've been on this discussion of Arya for a little too long. Like, it's part of the realism, and let's just jump back to that. Okay, fine. If it's true that they at least set up some things for her, like she trained with Jaqen to be an assassin. She trained with Syrio to move as swift as a cat. Sure, they've said those things. They've done those things. They showed those things, and it's somewhat believable. There's somewhat of a like precedence there. I'll give you that. Like, for me personally, I think it's too much of a feat for her, like that we haven't seen before. That's what I mean by there's no precedence for those feats, like running insanely fast or jumping super far. But it's true that she has learned to sneak around, and it's true that she did become like a really good assassin. So I'll give you that to Arya. But how about Jaime? How about Grey Worm? How about Sam?
I will admit that the situations. Okay, so for Podrick, Brienne, and Jaime, their situation was a little bit iffy, I will say, because they were like against the wall, and so maybe they had the wall to like brace themselves on, but it was still like a tricky situation, and it probably not like one that they could easily get out of. I will chalk it up to the fact that Brienne is a character who has been, and Jamie at certain points, even though he's technically disabled, but I don't know how much he's gotten used to fighting with the left hand. It's been a couple years, so I imagine he's gotten pretty used to it. But these are people that have been established as like the best fighters in Westeros. Brienne is considered the best fighter, along with Jamie at one point, and Podrick, who has been training with Brienne for years. So I would imagine that, like, out of all of the soldiers, they would probably be the last ones standing in a situation like this. So I will say that, like, the way that they showed it, it kind of is like, okay, this is a situation where it doesn't realistically seem like they would, be able to get out.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
But I think that because, like, if you think about it, because they are and have been considered the best fighters, it makes sense that out of all the soldiers, they would be the ones to survive.
Yeah, okay. That fits with the narrative. I'm fine with that. But the way they showed it, you said it yourself.
Yeah.
And that matters. That matters a lot.
Okay. Okay.
And like,
well, I get where you're coming from on that, because like the way that it showed it, yeah, it looked pretty bad. But I suppose maybe for me, it just didn't like bother me as much.
Yeah, and that goes. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and unless you want to say something, Triku.
No, you can go.
Yeah, so like following along with the realism, because it ties into the battle tactics, and I gotta mention, like, they have depicted Jon and Daenerys in this episode to be the stupidest.
I'll agree with you. I agree with you on that point.
In Westeros,
I agree with you on that. There were so many stupid moments with Jon in this episode, like when he was running at the Night King, and then freaking Dany landing Drogon on the battlefield.
Exactly. It's ridiculously
so much. Yeah, I'll agree with you on that.
It took me out of it, dude. It was like,
I'll agree with you on that. I don't know if it didn't take me out, because I was like, I mean, I don't know what you expected these guys to do. Like, Jon has never been a smart person. Dany, the only reason that she's gotten this far is because of the people around her. She's not really that smart. So I wasn't surprised. It didn't take me out of it. I was just kind of like, come on, guys, just like.
Yeah, but okay, maybe they're not that smart, but they have literally like the survivors of everything Game of Thrones together besides Cersei. Like, just remove her. We have Jaime, who was groomed by Tywin to be a battle commander, to be someone who was going to take over House Lannister.
True.
You have Jaime there. You have Tyrion. He came up with the plan with the Blackwater.
Mm-hmm.
You have Varys was like helping Tyrion with things. It's just, you have some of the greatest minds of Westeros in one place.
Yeah.
And this is the plan you come up with? Like, Ramsay came up with a better plan in Battle of the Bastards. It's unbelievable, like, thinking about it. Like, where was the volley of arrows? Where was the volley of fire arrows? They have what Tyrion claims to be the greatest army to like that Westeros has ever seen, and they could not match Ramsay's army in Battle of the Bastards, in my opinion. Like, where were the shields? Like, you know how they had the shield wall? Why were the Unsullied using super small shields when they have all of the Bolton shields that they beat them from, like Battle of the Bastards? They should have used those. They could block entire bodies. I was so taken out of it. Like, where were the Knights of the Vale? Why would you send the Dothraki to kill themselves in the beginning?
I believe the Knights of the Vale were there. But yeah, I do agree with you. Like, the whole Dothraki situation was literally just for a cool picture. It was just for like,
it was the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Just to have the lights like be going out. Like, there was really no purpose in the Dothraki, and now they're all dead. But
it was literally the dumbest thing I've ever seen in like
it was pretty bad.
The entire series.
It was pretty bad.
They were think about this. They didn't know that Melisandre was gonna come. That means they had weapons that could not even take out the
Yeah.
That was why were they gonna charge at them with useless weapons? That is literally the dumbest thing. Like, did nobody say, don't send the Dothraki out there? We're supposed to defend the wall, not like not the wall, defend the castle, not like send our men to die so that they can be added to the army. Like, that was so, oh my God, that took me out of it like almost immediately. I was like, shit, if they're going to do shit like this at the very beginning, I wonder how the rest of this battle is going to go. And like, just seeing how stupid their battle tactics were, it's just unbelievable, man. Like, honestly, like, why would they just sit there with the two dragons? I know they're waiting for the Night King, but like, send one out and like go blast them. Have Bran be more useful. Like, what did Bran do the entire time? He just warged into some ravens to like look at the scenes. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah. Okay. So
He could have been super useful. He could have been like, okay,
could he have?
yeah, warg into the ravens. Okay, I see where the Night King is. Tell Theon, warg into another raven with a note and send it to Jon or something. Like, there's so many creative things they could have done. There's so many like way smarter things that they could have done. Like, Bran could have even told Theon to tell someone else to like go tell Jon, and Jon just be nearby or something. Like, I don't know, man. That it's just so goddamn dumb the way they like did this battle, in my opinion. Like, why would they have every infantry unit outside of the walls with no distance weapons, like no arrows? Why would they like have the trench behind them? And why not have the trench in front of them, light it on fire, and then like have the Unsullied poke at the whites when they came? And why not? There's just so many things, dude. Just so many. Why would you put your catapults in the very front and stop using them like immediately? There was the logic in this battle was just so upsetting to me. Like, I saw all of these things right away. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, the greatest minds in Westeros, the greatest army is gonna fight like this? Like, I'm just like, I just got super disappointed, man.
Yeah. I mean, I will agree with you on a lot of those points because the stupidity of the strategy was not lost on me while I was watching the battle. Obviously, like, it didn't really make sense that they needed to sacrifice the Unsullied to like protect the retreat. Obviously they were planning on having that go down. Otherwise, why would they have like? Yeah, exactly. Anyway, but yeah, they that didn't need to happen, and they didn't. The Dothraki situation was all kinds of messed up. And then I will say that like I don't think that Dany and Jon, their purpose in the plan was being useless, because like obviously Dany was supposed to be there to light the trenches, and they were supposed to be prepared in case the Night King comes to like protect Jon. But I think that the issue in that whole scene was they broke away from the plan because Dany and Jon are not smart people.
Well, honestly, I think breaking away from the plan was a better plan.
You think it was?
Because they already had a shitty plan.
Well, I mean, obviously they didn't have like Dany there or anyone there to like light the trenches. If Melisandre wasn't there, then it would have been.
I saw a scene of Jon literally just chilling while he could have been like, okay, Rhaegal, like burn that trench, because he was literally just chilling while everyone was struggling to burn that trench, dude. Like, no joke. Like, he was literally chilling on the castle walls, like looking stupid while that whole situation was going on. Like, no joke. He could have easily burned that trench.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, all of that aside, all of the strategy was not great. In my opinion, it wasn't good. I think for me, and I think a lot of people have drawn this comparison that this battle kind of reminded, or it took a lot of cues from the Battle of Helm's Deep and Two Towers, Lord of the Rings, where there were obvious like inspirations that came from that battle, but I just think that battle was done so much better, in my opinion. And so like I was disappointed on a certain level with the strategies of the battle, mostly because I was comparing it to the Battle of Helm's Deep. But for me, my excitement wasn't in the large scale portions of the battle. It was on the smaller scale moments. So like all of Arya's stuff got me excited, and then like her stuff in the library, and then all of that.
I'll say that scene was good. I loved the Arya scenes, like, for sure.
Beric and Tormund, or not Tormund, the Hound, Beric and the Hound, and their stuff. I was interesting to see the Hound like frightened. I was I was interested by like what was going on in the crypt, while like they were like, frightened by like not having any idea what was going on upstairs, and then when you realize that like, oh yeah, they're in a crypt where there are a bunch of dead people, and the Night King raises dead people, and so yeah. So I thought that was interesting. That was like an interesting. I wasn't necessarily expecting that, although looking back, you kind of have to expect it.
I was expecting it. I was just like, come on, guys, like really?
Yeah.
Like,
but yeah,
Tyrion, you have fell from grace, my friend. You were used to be the smartest character.
well, I think they kind of nerfed everyone's intelligence for this battle, just to make
like, seriously.
Because like he's also Varys didn't do anything, and I consider Varys to be the smartest person in all of Game of Thrones. He's up there with like Littlefinger. I only put him above Littlefinger because Littlefinger's dead now. So, but yeah, like Varys was kind of useless in this whole ordeal, and it didn't really make sense. He barely talked in the last episode. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I think the whole plan of having Bran as a detour, not detour, sorry, diversion, as bait. I think that was a good plan because they needed some way to draw the Night King out into a place where they could have some hope of dealing with it.
I still think the plan that I thought up in my head in like 2 seconds was way better. Dude, he has warging powers. Why doesn't he use them? It's so like why did they set up all his seasons for him to be the three-eyed raven? And what has he done? He's literally just been bait and told Jon his parentage.
Right.
And there's no relevancy whatsoever for this battle of his parentage. Like none at all. Like why set up that entire story for him just to be useless bait in this battle? Like that's literally what he was.
Yeah.
Like, he did nothing.
I mean, I will say he's useful bait because he did the job. Wow. But yeah, no, you're right. Like all of that stuff, I think the difference is just that because I love Arya so much,
I get you.
I was really satisfied basically with the conclusion of this whole arc. The battle and like all of that stuff, so I think that the battles in Game of Thrones, they're typically very good, especially for TV. Like for TV, like it's far and above everything.
Exactly.
The Battle of the Bastards was like insanely good for me. It was like
Battle of the Bastards is incredible.
That's one of the best fights ever.
It's incredible, but like the good guys also have a terrible strategy in that.
Well,
battle.
no, they had a plan. It's just Jon got tricked by Ramsay.
Well, Jon messed it up, and so their plan was inferior. So I kind of like, I don't know. I feel like this show hasn't done very well on like having good strategic battle plans that work. And so I wasn't
Tyrion did a great one.
Yeah, he did, but that was a long time ago. But yeah.
Like Rob did a great one too. Like in the show, like deceiving Tywin, like the number of men and like how he captured Jaime.
Oh yeah. That was also a long time ago.
Well, Rob was younger. Okay, the battle on the wall was also pretty good too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The battle on the wall was great, but yeah, I don't know.
So what are you trying to say? Like, there is precedence for good like strategic battles, and the same people that were in those battles are here at Winterfell. So it's like you can't say that, like they're dumber now. It's just the writing now. It's just like
exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I don't disagree with you guys that the battle strategy was bad. That they needed to do a better job.
It just held less weight for you.
Yeah, it just like because they satisfied me so much on this other end, I don't care that much about that part. Like, I don't think this episode is like the greatest episode of Game of Thrones by any measure. Yeah, I'm just really happy that Arya killed the Night King.
Wow. Wow. So basically, this episode can be 95% horrible, but 5% good just because of that one scene.
Chuku, you haven't been talking much, so do you want to say anything for everything that I said?
If I have to put my last words, it's just that if this was just some ordinary, like if we had another season, I'd be happy with this battle, or I'll be okay with it. But for this to be considered as like this, I guess the hype behind this battle gave me really high expectations.
Yeah.
And then for me to not be able to even watch this battle, and then Scott, you list your problems, and then again my DZX Machina. I'm just gonna call it a DZX Machina for Arya at the end. It's just kind of disappointing. It's like, I mean, I hope there's something else within these next 3 episodes. Otherwise, this might be my. I mean, I don't want to hate on the show, but I'm just very disappointed. Like we've been setting up for this, and this is what we get out of it.
It kind of dropped like expectations for me. Like I was excited for this entire season. You know, we're meeting up every week to watch it together and stuff like that. And like honestly, after watching this episode, I'm kind of like. I just feel underwhelmed about like the future problem of Cersei. Like I just feel like the Night King was so much more threatening and so much more like of what I personally like cared about. I just saw him as like the big villain of the entire story, basically. Like, cause you know, one of my favorite storylines has always been at the Wall, like with Jon and like the White Walkers and whatnot. It's just so like I like the mystical element in this series, and then for it to conclude like this, where like the battle was just so anticlimactic, it really disappointed me. Like,
okay, let me try to see if I can encourage you a little bit more, because I think something to point out is that I never felt like this show did fantasy all that great. Like, I felt the strength of this show is in its attempts to be, like, realistic and how it deals with... No, wait, hold on.
Yeah, exactly.
Hold on. Not in the fantasy realm. Not in the fantasy realm. No, but, it's in its attempt to be realistic as far as the politics and the intrigue is concerned. So it's not like that. Because I don't know if you remember, like, when Bran is, like, north of the Wall at... way back when, and there's like those creatures that are throwing fireballs out of nowhere. Like that was kind of weird. I don't know if you guys remember that, but
the like, children of the forest were throwing like fireballs at whites.
Yeah, and so like I feel like the fantasy aspect has been a part of the show that is only meant to, in as far as it can, support the intrigue and the drama, the inter-character drama that happens.
Yeah, I get that.
And so, like, I don't think that the climax. I don't think this is the climax of the entire season, the entire series. Like the climax is obviously going to be in the next 3 episodes, and it's called a Game of Thrones. It's about who is going to end up on the throne. I feel like that's where the meat of this show lies, and I feel like that's where most of the satisfaction for people is going to come from. I don't think it's going to come in the resolution of the mystical element of the show. I think it's going to come in the resolution of the political.
That's fair. But like, it's just that the issue with what you're saying is that the way that the story has been set up, like the entire season 7 was basically Jon going around trying to convince everyone this is the true enemy.
And he was right.
Yeah. And like for all of that setup, like throughout like Jon's storyline and through Bran's storyline, all of those storylines were centered, or like not all of them, but like some of the biggest ones were centered around the Night King and the White Walkers. So it's like you can't really say that it's just like the politics and the intrigue, and because the politics tie into the White Walkers as well. It's like one of the morals of the story could have been like, you know, we have to put aside our differences to fight like a greater enemy. This is the only war that matters.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what Jon said.
Exactly.
Stuff like that.
I think you're right, because the purpose of this enemy was in having a force that is outside of the interpersonal drama that could be used to rally people together, and to see how different people, how different characters would react to that threat. I think that was the only reason why this was there. I agree. Like, it was definitely more important that they address this than that they address who's on the throne. But it was interesting to see who would react in what way. So we see like Cersei, even though she like promised to send troops, she's like, okay, no, we'll just fight whoever is left standing. We see that Daenerys, while they're in the crypt at the end of last episode, and she finds out about Jon's parentage, she seems to be like shifting and like conniving, like, okay, how do I now move forward, because now this person is on the throne. She's thinking about the throne while they're at the while they're about to face death and that stuff. Like, I think that the purpose of the Night King, he was literally just to push the other stories forward. I don't think he is the story, so I don't think that this battle means that much, if that makes sense.
I get what you're saying, but I think for me, especially with Games of Thrones, I still feel like the stakes behind this battle, at the end of the day, I didn't feel like there was not much consequences. And I feel like what pulled people to Games of Thrones in the beginning was the fact that like this show was willing to do dire consequences. Like, this show is willing to kill one of your favorite characters in the first season or first 3 episodes.
You don't have any love for Jorah?
I mean, Jorah is
Jorah's one of my favorite characters, and when everyone was like, "Oh, no main characters," that I was like, "What? What's wrong with you guys?" Like, Jorah, like, I'm not joking when I say he's one of my favorite characters. Like, some of my friends have asked me who my favorite characters are. I'm like, the Hound, Jorah, like, he's up there amongst my top like 3 or 5. Like, so.
Yeah, no, I mean, okay, so as far as like the characters dying,
they did his character death fine, in my opinion.
Okay.
Like, he died saving Daenerys. That was totally fine.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that death. Like, it was right.
I did feel after watching the episode that I was definitely expecting more main characters to die. But I was fine with the number of characters that they did that, because they killed a lot of people. They killed Ed, who's like he was the Lord Commander of the Night's. Like, basically, there's no more Night's Watch, unless you consider Sam.
I really liked Ed.
Yeah,
I'm really upset that they killed him.
They killed Jorah. They killed Melisandre. She's gone now. They killed Lyanna, who I care more about that little girl than Jon Snow. Okay, like, her death was awesome, in my opinion. Lyanna Mormont was... I was sad to see her go. They killed Beric Dondarrion, who, like, after he's been killed, like, 19 times...
Yeah,
like,
his death was fine. Like,
yeah. And
my issue... You know how, like, people are like, oh, I expected more people to die. That shouldn't be necessarily what you want. Like, people... I can't speak for others, but for me, I don't want... like, these main characters to die. I don't want Brienne to die. I don't want Jaime to die. I don't want them to die. It's just the way they depicted it.
Yeah.
They should have died.
Yeah.
Like,
and that is the issue.
Yeah.
It's like,
if
you're going to depict the battle this way, you have to make them die. And if you don't want them to die, then depict the battle in a different way. Like, make it so that they somehow escaped to a room, or like they kept going to room or something like that, where it makes sense that they survived. Like, you can't have them pinned against the wall with like 10 whites attacking them all at once and expect me to believe that they somehow survived when everybody else died. Like, it's just ridiculous, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what I have to say about the deaths. Like, I really didn't care that a lot of main characters didn't die. It's just the way they depicted them surviving was my issue. It's not about like... It's about the point that you mentioned earlier. Game of Thrones has always meant to be a show that's like realistic, like a sense of realism. And just because fantasy meets realism or meets like the real people doesn't mean you should take away that realism. They gave us rules for these people. They gave us... You kill them by setting them on fire, or with dragon glass or Valyrian steel. And if you kill a White Walker, then some of the whites die.
Yeah.
They gave us those rules. they should have planned for those rules, but they planned like they were fighting a regular army. And so if they give us those rules and they depict the battle like this, it's just way too unrealistic. It's like that sense of realism is completely thrown out the window. It's just gone. Like what Game of Thrones should have been, which is realistic, wasn't in this episode. And that's one of the biggest problems I have with this episode and why I'm so disappointed.
Yeah, that's fair.
Any last words?
I mean, yeah, I agree with you, but I like the word consequences than realism just because, again, it's a fantasy.
Yeah.
But I like to say realistic consequences is a better interpretation to say it. But yeah, agree with you.
Okay.